Okay, it's ready whenever you are.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Jennifer Nickel, and I work for Prairie View A&M University Cooperative Extension Program. Some of you might not know that there are two extensions in Texas. There's AgriLife Extension, and then there's Cooperative Extension. So I work closely with AgriLife Extension to offer you some programs. Today we're going to continue our series about mindfulness, and this one is about mindful eating. The series is about mindful eating, and I'm really excited to deliver this one. This is why I chose it, is because one of my favorite things to do is eat. But first I want to remind everybody to mute their mic. If you would, make sure that your mics are muted so that we're not picking up background noise. Also, make sure that your cameras are off, just to help a little bit with the bandwidth. I decided to turn my camera on because I like to see whomever's talking, and so I thought you guys might want to as well. We're going to start off a little bit. First of all, I want to just remind you guys about the past programs that we've had. I don't know about you guys, but I've been practicing that breathing that we did last week. I find myself, if I'm more mindful of it, I'll remember to just stop and breathe deeply. Yesterday I went walking with my mother who has some back issues, and we get back to the house and I'm taking her through some stretches, and I realized she's just not breathing. And so I reminded her about being mindful of breathing and how that really does work, especially when you're stretching and you feel like you want to fight the stretch, you just kind of stop breathing, or any kind of exercise, you just want to stop breathing. So I'm trying to employ those techniques that we learned last week. All right, so any other thing that you guys can think of before we get started? Okay, and please, guys, you can unmute your mics and talk. I do prefer a more interactive presentation than more lecture. Also, someone, if you want to go to the chat room and chat, that's fine also. Just someone will, I don't remember who's manning the chat room, but someone will deliver those messages to me, and I can do the best that I can. So this session is about mindful eating, and like I said, it's one of my most favorite things to do. Everything about eating I love, and so I decided to do this one. So we want to first talk a little bit about what mindful eating is, learn the benefits of mindful eating, and set SMART goals to practice mindful eating. So today I brought for you guys some things that we're gonna look at as far as food is concerned, so you guys can get a better idea what it is like to be a mindful eater. But first of all, let's talk about the class and how we want to set the stage for it. And just remember, just to be present for each class, and that is a discipline that oftentimes I have to remind myself to be present. Even I'll watch my kids, and they'll be doing their work online, and they'll have their phone with them, and they're just not present. So try to keep distractions at a minimum, and then also practice your homework in between the classes. And like I said, I've been trying to remind myself to breathe and be mindful of how sacred breath is. And then also bring a non-judgmental attitude to this class. I know sometimes this seems silly to say, well, just breathe. So just be non-judgmental about the things that we're discussing here. And then remember that what is said in here stays here. We're a little bit like Vegas. And then let's talk a little bit about what mindful eating is. So eating with a conscious awareness can lead to making unhealthy choices when you're eating, if you're eating too much or too little, if you're not mindful of it. But Susan Albers suggests that mindful eating is not just a diet. There are no menus or it's not a diet. There's no menus or recipes. It is being more aware of your eating habits, the sensation you experience when you eat, and the thoughts and emotions that you have about food. It is more about how you eat than what you eat. So mindful eating, for me, this is good news because I don't want to go on a diet. So this is really good news. It's not a diet. There's no recipe or menu that you have to follow. It's just more about your awareness. So what is mindful eating? How do you do it? So use all of your senses. So you use touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. So I don't know if you guys know this little trivia. I love trivia. I'm always looking for pieces of trivia. But if you guys have ever toasted and not know why you clink the glasses together, it's because clinking the glasses together is part of your hearing, and it involves all of your senses except your hearing, and that's why you clink the glasses. So that's kind of what mindful eating is. You want to engage all of your senses. Acknowledge your responses to food without judgment. So with my 4-H kids, I have to remind them to, rule number 1 is you have to try it, you don't have to like it. And rule number 2 is save the drama for your mama. Because oftentimes our responses to food can be very, very judgmental, and I'm trying to teach them to be mature eaters. Also become aware of nurturing opportunities available through food, and then become aware of hunger and satiety clues. So are you satiated? Are you full? Be sure that you're aware of those clues as well. All right, so there's some benefits to mindful eating. So it helps reduce binge eating. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm not much of a binge eater, but I know that if I become less mindful of my eating, I eat more than what I really intended to eat. So it can help reduce, you can help lose weight and then reduce your BMI, and then cope with chronic eating problems. Can reduce anxiety, thoughts about your food and body, and it can help improve symptoms of type 2 diabetes. So also it helps consume fewer calories, so that can also help you lose weight and helps one cope with chronic eating problems. So like I said, if I am not being a mindful eater, I can just be doing 2 things at once and not really realize, and if one of them's eating, I'll not really realize how often, or I mean how much I'm eating. There's been times when eating has become so mindless that I didn't realize I'd eaten all of my food, and I wasn't really satisfied because I just figured that I had more to eat and I didn't, so I didn't have that satisfied feeling. So next we're going to talk a little bit about your gut connection. So there is obviously a connection to your gut and your mind. Digestion involves complex hormonal signals. This is the way that your gut tells your mind that, hey, I'm full. Eating too quickly interferes with the cues of stop eating, and distracted eating slows digestion. So those are all really bad for us. We got to be so mindful of our eating. So any questions so far? Does anybody eat like on the road or at your desk at work? Those can be distracted eating as well. I don't like to eat when I'm driving, but I will eat at my desk and look at stuff, and that is also distracted eating. So it does slow that digestion process, which is similar to the fight or flight signal that your body sends out when you're in stress. So we want to make sure that your gut is connected to your mind really well. Without getting too personal, if I'm stressed, I have some digestive issues that I have. So I know when I'm stressed because certain things don't go right. So let's talk a little bit about the cornerstones of mindful eating. So awareness. If you are not eating, if your activity is not just eating and you're distracted doing something else, that is not awareness. For me and my family, I really try not to eat in front of the TV, because to me, that's not being aware of what you're eating. You're simply distracted, and you're looking at the TV and not paying attention to what you're doing. Savoring. So this is one of the ones things that I love about eating is tasting and taking in all the sensations that come along with eating. Observation. So I'm going to show you a few things today that I love about eating and observation. So I'm going to hold this strawberry up. I don't know about you guys, but this is one of the coolest things in the entire world, to actually look and observe a strawberry up close. I don't know if you can see this really well, but all of those are little bitty seeds in the strawberry. And just look how beautiful that is. I almost feel a little bit like the crocodile hunter when I'm talking about food, because it's so incredible. It's amazing to look at the details of your food. How in the world did those little seeds know where to go and just look so perfect? So I love to really observe my food. That's one of my favorite things about eating. And then being non-judgmental. So food has a level of maturity. Eating has a level of maturity to it. That's why I make sure that my kids don't have the palate of a 7-year-old, which is, chicken nuggets and fries and burgers and pizza. I want to make sure that they taste all that's out there for them to taste and have. So let's go a little bit more in depth into this. So awareness leads to change. So observational habits, patterns, be aware of thoughts, choose what habits to develop or abandon. So remember, just be present when you eat. I know it's a discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to make sure that the only activity that you're doing is eating. And I submit to you guys that there is no other voluntary activity that we do that's more sacred. Food is what sustains us. If we don't eat, we die. So to me, there's really no more sacred voluntary thing that we do every day, and it should be observed that way. So just be aware of your thoughts. Focus on your actual activity, and really mindfulness is just the discipline of focus. Next, we got some mindful eating tips. So observe your flavors as they come and go. There's some great food out there. You guys are great cooks. I know you are. I know there's great restaurants out there, and just be aware of all those flavors and all those sensations that you're sensing. With my 4-H kids, when we talk about food, when I say save the drama for the mama, I typically tell them, it doesn't bother me that you don't like what you're eating, but I want you to be able to communicate what you don't like. So you can't just say, well, I don't like it. And so for mindful eating, I want that to be also something that you're aware of. If you don't like something, try to think about what it is that you don't like. And if you do like something, try to think about what it is that you do like. So keep your mind on the bite before moving to the next. One way that you can do that is, for me, and this is just a habit, I don't know that I had to do anything to think about this habit, but I really try to put my fork down in between every bite. So this keeps my mind on the bite that I'm chewing right in the present, and then it helps me to think about the next bite that I'm going to eat. So, and then exercise your power to choose. I know when I was little, my parents wanted me to eat all of my food, but you're not little anymore, and you don't have to do that. So you can choose what you do and you don't eat. All right, so let's move on. You should have gotten the survey with the initial email. So I wanted to go over that a little bit about the hunger scale. So there's a hunger scale, 1 to 10, 1 being you are beyond hungry and 10 being you are beyond full. So 1, really you haven't eaten in a long time, and 10 might be Thanksgiving. So you are just beyond full and it's painful. So the thing that we need to know a little bit about the mindful eating zone is that you want to stay in that mindful eating zone. That's where you want to be when you begin to think about eating, and then when and then start to realize when you're satisfied, when you feel satiated. So does anybody have any thoughts about this this scale? Anybody want to share about when they're most likely to make best choices and they're least likely to make they're most likely to make good or bad choices and least likely to make good or bad choices?
Just when I'm hungry.
Now you're hungry. So did you have a thought about that?
No.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? I'd love for y'all to chime in, I promise.
I kind of find when I stay on a schedule of when I eat breakfast, when I eat lunch, when I eat dinner, I'm less likely to get out of that mindful eating zone.
Okay, explain a little.
Well, if I don't have breakfast, then I'm in the hungry, slightly hungry area, and then I'm crabby. And then if lunch isn't on time, you know, you start moving up that to the, you know, make the key decision points. So eating regularly helps me to stay mindful when I eat.
That's a good tip. That's a really good tip because your body does get in a schedule of eating. Anybody else? All right, well, let's move on. Thank you for sharing, Carolyn. So slow down. So this is really, really key for me. I tend to employ a lot of these habits just because I really don't know why, but I like eating to be sacred. It is something that it's a big production in my house. We don't eat on paper plates because I don't know, to me there's just something really sacred about eating, and you don't eat on paper plates. Even if we get takeout food, we put it on regular plates. So you can eat with your non-dominant hand, and that's a way that you can slow down your eating. And then also put your fork down between bites, and I do that. That's a good way to just, you know, it's not like you're just shoveling food into your mouth. So put down a fork in between each bite, take a sip of water between each bite. Turn off your technology, that's big. We probably eat in front of the TV more often than I'd like to admit, but I really try to make sure that all our technology is off. And then enjoy pleasant conversation. And for me, I think that's the best thing about eating, is just eating with people that you love, and knowing that is just, it's just sacred. So you can start a daily mindful eating practice. So start with one snack or meal a day. So choose a time without a lot of distractions. Start with a simple food and offer your full attention and all your senses, and gradually increase to 2+ meals a day. So I showed you guys some a strawberry earlier. This is a piece of Swiss chard that these are things that I had in my refrigerator. But I don't know if you guys can see all those veins, and they're red. It's absolutely incredible. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am about food. But it's pretty interesting. How does this piece of leaf know that the veins are supposed to be red? It's just so fascinating to me that this leaf can nourish my body, and it's just so adorable. So so let's move on a little bit. Awareness is not an ongoing source of nourishment, so feast on every moment. If you guys see blueberries, the blueberries there in the background, I don't know if you've ever opened a blueberry. You think that what's inside is blue. It's not. It looks similar to a grape. So the next time you grab a blueberry, just peel back that skin and look inside a blueberry. I like to really dissect my food if you haven't noticed. And so I'm so interested in just how amazing food is. If you look at the blackberries there, all those little bitty beads, I do have juice. I do have also for you guys, oh, you can kind of see the orange, it's a little cutie, and all those little pockets of juice that just come together and make, you know, one of these. It's just incredible. So let's move on a little bit to our SMART goals. So it's important that if we're trying to start a new habit, that we set some SMART goals. So a SMART goal, if you'll notice, it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So a SMART goal is specific, so maybe your SMART goal will be 2 days a week, I will practice mindful eating. So it's specific, it's measurable because it's 2 days a week, it's attainable. Now that's something that you need to determine. Is it attainable for you, for your family? Is it realistic? Can you realistically do 2 days a week? And is it timely? Is it time bound? Is there something that you can put a time limit on? So those are just some tips for employing some of those tips that we have. So let's move on lastly. So slow food reminds us of the importance of knowing where our food comes from. When we understand the connection between the food on our table and the field where it grows, our everyday meals can anchor us to nature and the place where we live. That's a quote by Alice Waters, and Alice and I are on the same wavelength. How much food really is sacred. Every day it sustains us, and if we didn't have it, you know, we would die. So it is something that we should really work on keeping it sacred. Any questions? Or thoughts, or anything you guys have about eating? Is anybody else excited about eating like I am? Okay. So thank you guys for allowing me to present this today. I'm the Family and Community Health Agent for the Cooperative Extension Program here in Potter County. So there's my contact information. Should any of you guys have questions or thoughts about mindful eating or mindfulness in general. So these are some references that were used to present today. Anybody have anything else? All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. Don't forget, so next week is another presentation, and love to have you on to learn a little bit more.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Jennifer.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Excellent job.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, guys.